Hi, this is Steve Hoare from Gaming Intelligence. Last week, the news came out that Canada is going to legalise sports betting. So I rang up the person who knows most about that market, Canadian Gaming Association President and CEO Paul Burns. Here's what he had to tell us about how that market's going to take shape.
Because of the large gray market in Ontario, in Canada, because we've had, the unsettled law was where does the bet occur? Because the provinces controlled betting and gaming activities within their jurisdiction. So if I'm sitting in Toronto where I sit now and I go to Bet365 and make a bet, where am I betting? Is it the server in Stoke-on-Trent? Is it in my home? Law unsettled on that. Reality is most lawyers think that everybody would say it's probably Stoke-on-Trent. And that's what we don't. And that law never got settled. That issue never got settled because no one wanted to take a case or charge anybody or move it through the court system because I don't think there was understanding of whether there's a secure conviction, and no province really wanted to settle the law because I don't think what he wanted to know was that if it was in fact end up being legal, it would blow the whole thing apart. So that's been the question that's been sitting up there. So that's why the gray market in Canada has become so large. We don't IP block our banking system. People can use credit cards, bank cards, depending on the service provider. They've had pretty easy access. So that's allowed the market to flourish. So that's why we have a lot of particularly European operators sitting, doing business here today, from 365 to Betway to Betson to you name it, 888. Stars only offers poker in Canada, but there is a lot of activity, and that's why Ontario said, okay, we're going to try and do something, because Ontario represented about 50% of the revenue being earned. There's estimated about $1 billion is being earned in revenue out of Canada right now in the online, in the gray market. And sports probably represents about 35-40% of that. And so that was important. This bill was important for a couple of reasons. Important to
Sorry, the Ontario bill or
the federal bill, because Ontario being able to open a licensed regulated market without sports would have left a big hole in the regulated marketplace. Yeah. So that's really why two things, they kind of ran parallel. They're interconnected, but they weren't directly related to each other, because Ontario was going to do this regardless. They had announced the intentions of exploring it 2 years ago, and they finally took the steps they had to do one small legislative change. They did that last fall, and they've been now issuing the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario and the Department of Finance have been issuing consultation papers sort of outlining their thoughts of where the framework for the regulated model is going to go. And so we've seen draft standards, we've seen draft compliance and eligibility requirements. We'll be seeing the draft agreement, because it's not truly a tax, because our laws in Canada don't allow them to use it as a tax. So it's actually a revenue share agreement. It'll be a contract, hopefully a small one.
Sorry, I don't understand, Paul. Can you run that past me?
So we can't use the word, we can't have a strict tax because of the way the laws around gaming are written in Canada. So the provinces can enter a revenue share agreement.
Oh, the provinces have a revenue share. Okay.
So they will. So the operators in the online space will enter a revenue share agreement.
Right.
It will be a tax. It's just called something else. It's going to operate a little different. So they're hoping for 15 to 20% for online gaming, 10 to 13, 14% for sports. That's what we're hoping. That's what we've asked for. That's the kind of, so
those regulations are being sorted out, are they? That hasn't
right now. Yeah.
Okay, but presumably it will be set a figure rather. It won't be a negotiation, will it?
It will not be a negotiation. Then we expect the numbers to be set by over the summer. Actually, by early September, we expect to know pretty much what this market, the framework, is going to look like in Ontario. They're opening the applications for licensing in September.
Right.
It's a very, and you can appreciate what Ontario is trying to do is that they've got all these operators already operating here who aren't paying taxes and aren't being regulated. Yeah. So what they're trying to say is that I think they recognize that, and they're trying to make sure that the regulatory environment and the structure for fees and taxes and such are pretty much within industry norms around the world. So they're not trying to do anything unique or crazy. What they're trying to do is make it easy for people to slide into the marketplace.
Right. Okay.
And that's really what they're trying to do. And so, for example, we know right now you won't have to have servers in Ontario. You won't have to have any large physical footprint in Ontario. There'll be incentives if you do. We're hoping, as an industry association, we've been advocating for that. But the other side, if you don't, it will be okay. And so they're taking a very I wouldn't call it light touch, but yeah, it kind of is to regulatory oversight. So,
approach, a pragmatic approach. Yeah.
The regulator here in Ontario works on a outcomes basis anyway. Their structure and their model is based on delivering outcomes. Right. So they're not very prescriptive. It's they take a risk-based approach to it. It will be heavy compliance for companies who are operators here to have to monitor not only themselves, their suppliers as well, probably. So that it's so they're taking a very pragmatic approach to make sure that it's attractive, because they want to get as many people into the market as they possibly can. And that's been their key. So we'll know more over the summer, and hopefully by September. The expectation is the market opens at the end of 2021.
So have any of the other provinces responded to this? I mean, I noticed a statement from BCLC kind of staking their flag in the turf, really, as the
expectation.
Blah blah blah.
Well, and that's what talking to people, it's like, well, it's going to look very different every province. Like that's really what's going to happen. It's
which we should be used to with the way the US is going.
It's the same principle, same model. Just and what we have is a stronger, probably, lottery corporation model within those jurisdictions, and many states do, to be honest. But because some of our lottery corporations are involved in casino business, and they're online, and they're selling lottery tickets, they're doing VLTs, they do it all. You're going to see the interest really around where these provinces decide to go. So British Columbia, for example, they have it's a very good platform versus the rest of some of the other lottery corporations in the country. It's a very good platform, and they said, like, we're going to be it right now. Like, whether that changes in time, and they could, but right out of the gate, that playnow.com, which is the BCLC platform, will be the sports betting provider in that province. And the province of Alberta had issued a request for information from sportsbooks. They're exploring looking at a more of a tethered model for sports only, connected to the casino retail offering, with a mobile extension.
Okay.
And they have not decided yet. They too have an online platform for their province, but they're also looking at a model for their casinos within the jurisdiction to decide what they want to maybe invite 1, 2, 5, I don't know what they're thinking, of private sector sportsbook operators into the market to as a retail model with a mobile extension for their citizens. The Saskatchewan Indian Gaming Authority operates 6 casinos in the province. They've been given the authority to run the online gaming for their province. So they will be launching an online platform, and it's sort of saying, well, you have, some say they've got as high as 70% market share, and some more realistically have probably somewhere in the low teens of the online gaming market share. And it's, well, do you want, a lot of a little bit, or do you want a little bit of a lot, I guess, is the approach, right? And it's to sort of say, we've always, as an industry association, said you need to regulate iGaming. We need to regulate the industry. Yeah. So it's either find enforcement mechanisms
Hmm.
or bringing them into the marketplace and creating a regulatory regime. I mean, that's what the world has done. Um, it doesn't upset. They have the ability to control like the parameters of their market, even so much as to say, and I've said this to one attorney general in the province, I said, you can create the regime, and if you really don't want people to come to your market, set your tax rate at 50%,
Right. Yeah.
and they won't come. If you really want people in, then you have to be competitive.
Yeah.
But I said the solutions aren't for someone else to solve your problem. It's you within your four walls of your jurisdiction have to fix your own house, and you can choose how to fix it. And
Mm.
Ontario is choosing to fix it, saying we want everybody in, and we're going to use it as a way to capture a small percentage of all of the revenue, hopefully.
Mm.
And that's what they want to do. And but everybody could take a different approach, but they haven't even begun to do that. And that's the part that's been most frustrating for us as an industry association, saying we pride ourselves on a regulated marketplace in Canada. We have very strong our responsible gaming controls and programs. We export those programs around the world. Um, we have all of the great attributes, and then you leave this hole out there that's sort of left to the abyss, that's beyond regulation and beyond any of our G player controls and other mechanisms that we have for Canadians, and you're content to leave them there. And we're saying, don't do that. But there are solutions, and it doesn't mean you have to invite the whole world into your province either, because it doesn't make sense in many jurisdictions because of the size of their province.
Yeah.
Ontario is huge, so this does make sense for them,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that's why they've chosen it. Um, and they're going to be unique, I think, in North America in terms of anybody who wants to come and be licensed can come, and I think that's going to be an interesting um, process to see that happen and what the market becomes.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Speak to you soon.
Have a good day.
Yeah,
Take care.